Daeho Kim sat in the cold metal chair and looked across the table at the alien faces staring back at him. The meeting room was huge, with walls that stretched up so high he could barely see the ceiling. Light came from strange blue crystals that made everything look sick and pale. For 3 years, Daeho had come to these meetings. For 3 years, he had listened to the aliens make demands. Give us your technology, give us your land, give us your weapons. But they never gave anything back to humans. Today was different. Today, the tall gray alien named Velthara was asking for something that made Daeho's blood boil. The Earth defense satellites must be removed, Velthara said in her cold voice. This will show that humans want peace. Daeho felt his hands tighten into fists under the table. The satellites protected Earth from space rocks and enemy ships. Without them, his home planet would be helpless. Also, Velthara continued, humans will now be called a junior species. You will have fewer votes in our decisions. The other aliens nodded their heads. Some had tentacles instead of arms. Others had too many eyes. But they all agreed that humans were not important enough to be treated as equals. Jiwoo Park sat in the back of the room watching everything. She was in charge of protecting Earth, and this demand made her sick. The aliens wanted humans to be weak and helpless. They wanted to control everything. Daeho stood up slowly. The room became quiet. Every alien eye, tentacle, and strange sensor turned to look at him. No, he said simply. Velthara's head tilted to one side. Excuse me? I said no. Daeho's voice was calm but strong. Humans will not remove our satellites. We will not accept being called a junior species, and we will not continue these talks. The room exploded with noise. Aliens started talking in their strange languages all at once. Some made clicking sounds, others buzzed like angry insects. You cannot refuse, shouted Zephyron, an alien that looked like a giant blue lizard. You need us more than we need you. Daeho smiled for the first time in months. We will see about that. He picked up his papers and put them in his bag. The human delegation is leaving. We are going home. Good luck with your galaxy. Jiwoo stood up and followed Daeho toward the door. Behind them, the aliens were still shouting and arguing. Some demanded that the humans come back. Others said humans were being childish. In the hallway, more humans were waiting. They had been ready for this moment. Scientists, doctors, engineers, and soldiers all followed Daeho and Jiwoo toward the exit. Are you sure about this? Asked Dr. Kyung-Min Han as they walked. She was one of the best doctors in the galaxy, and aliens always asked for her help. Very sure, Daeho replied. We have tried to be friends for 3 years. They treat us like servants, not partners. Sujin Lee was already talking on her communication device. She managed all the human workers on alien planets and space stations. All human staff return home immediately. Leave your work and come back to human space. The group reached their ship. It was small compared to the giant alien vessels, but it was fast and reliable. Human engineering was always better than alien designs, even if the aliens never admitted it. As they walked up the ramp, Won-Sik Choi looked back at the massive space station where the meetings had been held. He was in charge of all the human engineers who kept alien technology working. They have no idea what they just lost, he said quietly. Inside the ship, the humans worked together to prepare for departure. No arguing, no wasted time. They knew their jobs and did them well. This was something aliens never understood about humans. When humans worked together, they were incredibly efficient. The ship's engines started with a low hum. Through the windows, they could see alien ships everywhere. Big, fancy vessels that looked impressive but broke down constantly. Humans had been the ones fixing them for years. Daeho sat in the captain's chair and opened a communication channel to Earth. President Youngmi Cha appeared on the screen. How did it go? She asked. We're done with them, Daeho said. They wanted us to remove our defense satellites and accept being called a junior species. President Cha nodded. Then it's time for Protocol 7. Protocol 7 was a plan humans had hoped they would never need to use. It meant bringing all humans home and cutting all ties with the alien government. No more human workers on alien planets. No more human doctors in alien hospitals. No more human engineers fixing alien machines. All human citizens have 24 hours to return to human space, President Cha announced over the ship's communication system. Pack only what you need, leave everything else. As the human ship left the alien space station, Velthara watched from a window. She was not worried. Humans were just one small species among hundreds in the galaxy. How much trouble could they really cause? Behind her, other aliens were already making plans. They would find new workers to replace the humans. They would build new technology without human help. How hard could it be? But some of the older aliens looked worried. They remembered what the galaxy was like before humans joined them. They remembered how many problems humans had solved. They remembered how much easier things became when humans started helping. These older aliens said nothing. They knew that speaking up would make them look weak. But deep down, they wondered if letting the humans leave was a terrible mistake. The human ship jumped to hyperspace, leaving the alien station behind. Inside, the humans were quiet but determined. They had tried to be good partners for 3 years. They had shared their knowledge, fixed alien problems, and asked for nothing but respect in return. Instead, they had been treated like servants and tools. The aliens took human help for granted and never said thank you. They acted like humans, should be grateful just to be included in their galaxy. Now the aliens would learn what the galaxy was like without human help. They would discover how much they had depended on human skills, human knowledge, and human hard work. And maybe, just maybe, they would finally understand that respect must be earned, not demanded. 6 hours after the human ship left the alien space station, the first problems began. Captain Thekra of the Rigel trade ship Star Wind was flying through hyperspace when his navigation system started making warning sounds. Red lights flashed on his control panel. "What is happening?" he asked his crew. "The hyperspace beacon at Junction 47 has stopped working," his navigator replied. "We cannot continue on this route." Thekra felt confused. The beacons never just stopped working. They were maintained by humans. His stomach dropped as he remembered the news about humans leaving the galactic meetings. "Try Junction 52, he ordered. "That beacon is also offline, Captain." Across the galaxy, the same thing was happening to hundreds of ships. The hyperspace beacons that helped ships travel safely between stars were shutting down one by one. Human crews were packing their tools and leaving their posts. Sujin Lee watched the reports coming in from her command center on Luna Base, Earth's moon. She had spent years organizing human workers throughout the galaxy. Now she was bringing them all home. "Beacon Station 23 is evacuated," reported one of her assistants. "All human staff are on transport ships." "Good," Sujin said. "What about the Altarian Medical Center?" "Dr. Kyungmin Han is packing her equipment now. The aliens are begging her to stay." Sujin smiled coldly. For 3 years, the aliens had treated human doctors like servants. They demanded that humans work long hours for low pay. They never listened to human medical advice. But when humans got sick or injured, somehow alien medicine never worked as well as human medicine. Dr. Kyungmin Han was indeed packing her medical supplies when the head of the Altarian Medical Center came running into her office. The alien looked like a tall bird with 4 arms and bright blue feathers. "Dr. Han, you cannot leave," the alien said in panic. "We have 30 critical patients who need your surgical skills." Kyungmin did not look up from her packing. "Find another doctor. But you are the only one who knows how to perform neural surgery on mixed species patients. Then you should have trained your own doctors instead of depending on me." The alien's feathers turned from blue to purple, which meant extreme distress. "Please, these patients will die without your help." Kyungmin finally looked at the alien. "For 3 years, I have asked for better equipment and more staff. You always said, no, because human doctors should be grateful just to work here. I have asked to train your doctors in my techniques. You said human medicine was too primitive to teach. Now you want my help?" She picked up her bag and walked toward the door. "I am done being taken for granted." Meanwhile, on the industrial Planet Corva 5. Wansik Choi was leading a group of human engineers away from the main power plant. The plant provided energy for millions of aliens living on the planet. Engineer Choi, wait, called Supervisor Gralthon, an alien that looked like a walking tree. You cannot leave now. The main reactor needs maintenance tomorrow. Wansik kept walking. Your engineers can handle it, but they do not know how. You always do the reactor maintenance. Because you never wanted to learn. You said human engineering was too simple for your advanced minds. Behind them, the power plant's warning system started beeping. The reactor was already showing signs of problems. Without proper maintenance, it would shut down automatically in 3 days to prevent damage. All across the galaxy, similar scenes were playing out. Human workers were leaving their jobs and returning to human space. They took their knowledge and skills with them. On the space station Helix Prime, the life support systems began having problems just 2 hours after the human maintenance crew left. The air recycling unit started making strange noises. The water purification system was showing error messages. Station Commander Velcor tried to contact the Galactic Council for help, but the Council was dealing with hundreds of similar emergencies. The Corvan Banking Federation discovered that their computer systems were failing. The programs that managed money transfers between different planets had been written by humans. Without human programmers to maintain them, the systems were crashing. Hai Young Nam, the former head of Human Economic Affairs, sat in her office on Earth reading reports of the banking chaos. Every few minutes, her communication device rang with calls from alien banks begging for help. She let them ring. The military situation was even worse. Admiral Zarketh of the Outer Rim Defense Force was studying reports from the border regions. For the first time in months, Void Raider ships had attacked 3 different colonies. How did they get through our defenses? He asked his staff. The early warning network is not working properly, his aide replied. The detection algorithms were designed by human Admiral Seunghwan Park. Zarketh's tentacles twitched with worry. The humans had shared their military knowledge freely. They had helped design defense systems that kept dozens of worlds safe. But the aliens had never bothered to fully understand how these systems worked. In the Galactic Council chambers, emergency meetings were being held every few hours. The council members who had been so confident about letting humans leave were now looking worried. This is only temporary, insisted Councillor Velthera. We can replace human workers with our own people. But Councillor Thekmon was not so sure. Reports were coming in from every part of the galaxy. Trade routes were closing. Medical centers were overwhelmed. Power plants were shutting down. Defense systems were failing. How long will it take to train replacements? Asked Councillor Yindar. A few weeks, Velthara said, but her voice sounded uncertain. What about the hyperspace beacons? We can send our own crews to operate them. Do we know how they work? Velthara was quiet for a moment. The truth was that humans had improved the beacon technology so much over the years that even the original, alien designers no longer understood it completely. On Earth, President Young Mi Cha was holding her own meetings. Reports from human evacuees were coming in constantly. How many of our people are still out there? She asked. About 10,000, replied Minister Chan Ho Lee. Most are on transport ships heading home. The rest should be evacuated within 48 hours. What about the aliens? Are they trying to stop our people from leaving? Some are, but most are too busy dealing with emergencies to worry about stopping us. President Cha nodded. She felt sad that things had come to this point. Humans had genuinely wanted to be good partners with the other species in the galaxy. They had shared their knowledge freely and worked hard to help solve galactic problems. But the aliens had never seen humans as partners. They had seen them as useful tools. Tools that could be ordered around and taken for granted. Now the aliens were learning what happened when you lose your most useful tools. The next morning, the Galactic Council received a report that made everyone go silent. In just 24 hours, 47 major systems had experienced critical failures. Trade between star systems had decreased by 60%. Medical emergencies were overwhelming hospitals that no longer had human doctors. Most worrying of all, the Void Raiders had detected the weakening of galactic defenses and were massing their ships for a major attack. Councillor Zephyron looked around the chamber at his fellow council members. Yesterday, they had been confident that humans needed the galactic community more than the galactic community needed humans. Today, that confidence was gone. 2 weeks after the humans left, the galaxy was falling apart. Governor Malthek of the mining colony Zerion 7 stared at the empty shelves in his supply warehouse. No ships had arrived in 5 days. The hyperspace trade routes that had connected his world to the rest of the galaxy were completely broken. "How many people do we have left?" he asked his assistant. "About 50,000. But our food supplies will last only 2 more weeks." Malthek felt sick. His colony depended on food shipments from agricultural worlds, but without the hyperspace beacons that humans had maintained, trade ships could not find safe routes through space. On the banking world of Corvin Prime, chaos ruled the financial markets. Hai Young Nam watched the news reports from her comfortable office on Earth. Alien economists were on every channel trying to explain why their economy was collapsing. "The human-designed trading algorithms were more complex than we realized," admitted Chief Economist Vralton during a live interview. "We are working to replace them, but it may take months." Hai Young laughed bitterly. She had tried to train alien economists for years. But they always said human economic theory was too simple and primitive. They insisted their own methods were superior. Now their superior methods were worthless. Without human algorithms, they could not even calculate basic exchange rates between different planetary currencies. The military situation was becoming desperate. Admiral Xunhuan Park sat in his office at Terra Defense Command, reading intelligence reports. The Void Raiders had attacked 6 more colonies in the past week. Alien defense forces were losing every battle. "The aliens are requesting our help," reported Colonel Taijun Yu. "They want you to share your defensive strategies again." Xunhuan shook his head. "They called my tactics primitive and unscientific. They said human military thinking was too emotional and unpredictable. What should I tell them?" "Tell them to use their superior alien logic to solve the problem." The truth was that human military tactics worked because humans thought differently than aliens. Aliens relied on computer calculations and followed strict rules. Humans were creative and unpredictable. They could adapt quickly when plans went wrong. But the aliens had never wanted to learn human methods. They thought their way was the only right way. Dr. Min-Soo Kim was having a similar experience with the science community. The crystalline hegemony had been sending him desperate messages for days. Their most important research project was failing. "Dr. Kim, please respond to our calls," begged Dr. Zilnara in her latest message. "Our quantum calculations are not working. We need your help." Min-Soo deleted the message without reading the rest. For years, the crystalline scientist had ignored his research papers. They said human science was based on gut feelings rather than proper logic. They refused to include human scientists in their projects. Now their logical calculations were producing impossible results. Without human intuition to guide them, they could not see the obvious mistakes in their work. The medical crisis was the worst of all. Dr. Yunji Cho watched alien news reports showing hospitals overflowing with patients. A new plague had started on 3 worlds, and alien doctors had no idea how to treat it. "The disease appears to be a mutation of Corvin flu," reported one alien doctor. "But our standard treatments are not working." Yunji knew exactly what was wrong. The plague was indeed a mutation, but it was behaving more like a human virus than an alien one. Human doctors had learned to treat similar diseases years ago. But when human doctors had tried to share this knowledge, alien doctors said human medicine was too dangerous and unpredictable. Now thousands of aliens were dying because their doctors were too proud to learn from humans. On the space station, Nexus Central Station Commander Velcor was facing his own crisis. The life support systems were failing faster than his engineers could fix them. Every day more systems broke down. "How long before we have to evacuate the station?" he asked his chief engineer. "Maybe a week. The humans built backup systems into everything, but we do not understand how they work." Velcor remembered the human engineers who had worked on his station. They had always seemed to know exactly what to do when something went wrong. They could fix problems that alien engineers said were impossible to solve. But Velker had treated them like servants. He had given them the worst quarters and the hardest jobs. He had never thanked them for their work. Now his station was dying, and the only people who could save it were gone. The Galactic Council was in emergency session again. Counselor Thekmon looked around the chamber at faces full of fear and anger. "The situation is getting worse every day," he reported. "We have lost contact with 12 colonies. The trade network has collapsed completely. Our military is losing battles we should easily win." "This is all temporary," Counselor Velthera insisted, but her voice was weak. "We just need time to adjust." "How much time?" demanded Counselor Yindar. "Our worlds are dying now. People are starving now. The void. Raiders are attacking now." The truth was becoming clear to everyone in the chamber. Humans had not just been workers in the galactic community. They had been the invisible foundation that held everything together. Human engineers had kept alien technology working. Human doctors had solved medical problems that alien doctors could not understand. Human scientists had provided the creative thinking that alien research needed. Human economists had designed the systems that kept money flowing between worlds. Most importantly, humans had done all of this quietly and efficiently. They had not demanded credit or glory. They had simply done their jobs and made the galaxy a better place. But the aliens had never noticed. They had taken human contributions for granted. They had treated humans like useful animals rather than intelligent partners. Boram Song, head of Terran Information Systems, was monitoring alien communications from her base on Mars. Thousands of messages were coming in every day. Alien governments, companies, and individuals were all begging for human help. "Please just send one engineer," pleaded the message from Corva 5. "Our power plant will explode if we cannot fix it soon. We will pay anything for a human doctor," wrote the administrator of Altarian Medical Center. "Our patients are dying. Human trade ships, please respond," called the desperate voice from Zerion 7. "We are running out of food." Boram read every message, but she did not respond to any of them. Earth's government had been very clear. No human would help any alien until the galactic situation changed completely. President Youngmi Cha was watching the same reports as everyone else on Earth. Part of her felt sorry for the aliens who were suffering. But she remembered the 3 years of insults and disrespect that humans had endured. "Are our people safely home?" she asked her advisors. "Yes, Madam President. The last transport ship arrived this morning." "Good. What about our own defense preparations?" "All Earth defense systems are at full power. Our orbital platforms are ready. If the aliens try to force us to help them, we will be ready." But the aliens were not planning any attacks on human space. They were too busy trying to save their own worlds from collapse. Some alien leaders were starting to understand the truth. Humans had never needed the galactic community. The galactic community had needed humans. Now, without human help, their great civilization was crumbling, and there was nothing they could do to stop it. 1 month after humans left the galactic community, the Vakori Empire launched its attack. Emperor Skalvan had been waiting for this moment for years. The Vakori were a warrior species that had always wanted to conquer council space. But the galactic military had been too strong to defeat. Now everything was different. Skalvan's spy ships had been watching the chaos in council territory. Defense systems were failing. Trade routes were broken. Military coordination was falling apart. "Begin the invasion," he ordered his fleet commanders. "Take as many worlds as possible before they can organize a defense." The first Vikori attack hit the border world of Kepler Station. Admiral Zarketh tried to coordinate a defense from his command center, but his ships could not work together properly. "Fleet 7, move to intercept the enemy," he ordered. "Admiral, Fleet 7 reports their navigation systems are malfunctioning," his aide replied. "They cannot find the battle coordinates." Zarketh felt his tentacles curl with frustration. The navigation systems had been designed by humans. Without human maintenance, they were becoming unreliable. The battle was a disaster. Vakori ships used simple but effective tactics. They attacked in small groups, hit fast, and disappeared before the Council forces could respond. It was exactly the kind of unpredictable strategy that humans had always used, but the Council military had refused to learn human tactics. They said human fighting methods were too chaotic and emotional. They preferred precise formations and calculated attacks. Against the Vikori, precision was useless. The enemy did not follow any rules or patterns. They struck wherever the defense was weakest and vanished before reinforcements could arrive. Kepler Station fell in 6 hours. Tai Jun. Yu watched the battle reports from his office at Terra Defense Command. He had once shared human military knowledge with Council forces. He had tried to teach them flexibility and creative thinking. They called our tactics primitive, he told his staff. They said we were too aggressive and unpredictable. What should we do, sir? Asked a young officer. The Vikori might attack human worlds next. Let them try, Tai Jun replied. Our defenses are ready, and we know how to fight enemies who do not follow the rules. The medical crisis was getting even worse. The plague that had started on 3 worlds was now spreading to 12 more. Alien doctors were completely helpless against the disease. Doctor, Yunji Cho received another desperate message from the Altarian Medical Coalition. This time it was not asking for help, it was begging. Dr. Cho, thousands of people are dying every day, the message said. We know we treated human doctors badly. We were wrong. Please, we need your help. Yunji almost felt sorry for them. Almost. But she remembered too many years of being ignored and insulted. She remembered alien medical boards rejecting her research without even reading it. She remembered being told that human medicine was dangerous and unscientific. Where was this attitude when we were trying to help? She asked her empty office. She deleted the message. The Zenthari Collective was facing its own medical disaster. Their scientists had tried to copy human healing techniques, but they had no real understanding of how human medicine worked. The results were catastrophic. Their experiments had created new diseases instead of curing old ones. 3 Zenthari colonies were now under quarantine, and their populations were in panic. Dr. Hyunwoo Lim heard about the Zenthari disaster from intelligence reports. He shook his head sadly. They tried to steal our knowledge instead of learning it properly. Now they have made everything worse. On the industrial world of Corva 5, the situation was becoming desperate. The main power plant was barely functioning. Without proper maintenance, it would have a complete breakdown soon. Won-Sik Choi received daily reports about the crisis. The plant's alien engineers were trying everything they could think of, but they did not understand the human modifications that had been made to the reactor. They have 12 hours before the reactor shuts down permanently, his assistant reported. After that, the entire planet will lose power. What about backup generators? The aliens never built enough backup systems. They thought the main reactor would never fail. Won-Sik had warned them about this years ago. He had suggested building more backup power sources and training local engineers to handle emergencies, but the aliens had said human safety procedures were unnecessarily expensive. Now their lack of preparation was going to cost them everything. The trade situation was beyond repair. The Corvan Banking Federation admitted that they could not restore their economic systems without human help. But their pride would not let them ask directly. Instead, they tried to hire human economists secretly. They offered huge salaries and promised complete autonomy. But Earth's government had forbidden any human from working with alien organizations. Ha Young-nam read the job offers with amusement. They offer me 10 times my old salary, she told her husband. Plus a private ship and a mansion on any world I choose. Are you tempted? He asked, not even a little. They had their chance to treat us fairly. They chose to treat us like servants instead. The most serious problem was the spreading Vikori invasion. In just 2 weeks, the Empire had conquered 8 Council worlds. Their fleet was now approaching the important trade hub of Junction Prime. Counselor Velthera was in her private office staring at military reports. The numbers were terrifying. Council forces were losing every major battle. Their strategies were not working against Vikori tactics. She knew the solution. Human military advisors had always been excellent at fighting unpredictable enemies. But Asking for human help would mean admitting that the council had been wrong. Her pride would not let her do it. The same pride was destroying the entire galaxy. Alien leaders knew they needed human help, but they could not bring themselves to ask for it. They had spent too many years treating humans as inferior beings. Now their inferior human servants were sitting safely on Earth while the great galactic civilization collapsed around them. President Youngmi Cha was holding another security meeting. Intelligence reports showed that the crisis was spreading faster than anyone had expected. The Vikori have taken Junction Prime, reported Defense Minister Ki Tae Lim. They are now threatening the core worlds. What about the Council's response? They are trying to organize a counterattack, but their coordination is terrible. Without human logistics support, they cannot move their fleets efficiently. Have they contacted us yet? No, Madam President. A few individual leaders have sent private messages, but the Council as a whole has not made any official request for help. Young Mai nodded. She had expected this. The aliens were too proud to admit they needed human assistance. They would rather watch their civilization burn than ask for help from the species they had treated as servants. On the dying space station, Nexus Central, Commander Velcor was preparing for evacuation. The life support systems had finally failed, completely. In 6 hours, the station would be uninhabitable. As he packed his personal belongings, Velcor thought about the human engineers who had once worked here. They had always seemed so confident and capable. When problems arose, they fixed them quickly and efficiently. He had never appreciated their skills. He had treated them like maintenance robots rather than intelligent beings. He had given them orders without saying please or thank you. Now the station that had been his home for 10 years was about to become a dead hulk floating in space. And the only people who could have saved it were gone forever. In the Galactic Council chambers, the emergency sessions were becoming more desperate. Reports of new disasters arrived every hour. Worlds were going dark. Fleets were being destroyed. The plague was spreading to new systems. We need to contact the humans, Counselor Thekmon said quietly. The chamber fell silent. Everyone knew he was right, but no one wanted to say it out loud. They will demand an apology, Counselor Yindar pointed out. Good, Thekmon replied. We owe them one. But Counselor Velthera was still fighting against the obvious solution. We cannot show weakness. If we beg the humans for help, other species will think we are desperate. We are desperate, Thekmon said, and everyone knows it. The debate continued for hours, but no decision was made. The council was paralyzed by pride and fear. They needed human help desperately, but they could not bring themselves to ask for it. Meanwhile, the galaxy continued to burn. 3 months after humans withdrew from the galactic community, the unthinkable happened. The Vikori Empire captured the Council's capital world. Counselor Zephyron watched from his escape ship as Vikori fighters swarmed around the great city, where galactic law had been made for 1,000 years. The buildings that had seemed so permanent and powerful were now burning. How many council members escaped? He asked his aide. Maybe half. The others were captured or killed when the Vikori broke through the planetary defense grid. Zephyron felt sick. The defense grid had been designed by human engineers. It should have been impossible to break through, but without human maintenance, the weapons had misfired and the sensors had failed. The galaxy's economy was dead. The Corvin Banking Federation had officially collapsed 3 days ago. Without their financial systems, trade between worlds had stopped completely. Entire planets were running out of food and medicine. He Young Nam read the economic reports with grim satisfaction. The same aliens who had called human economics primitive were now facing complete economic disaster. Their superior systems had lasted exactly 3 months without human support. But the worst news was the plague. It had now spread to 37 worlds, and alien doctors still had no idea how to stop it. The death count was approaching 1 million beings per day. Dr. Unji Cho could have solved the plague problem in a few weeks. She had seen similar diseases before and knew exactly what treatments would work. But every time she thought about helping, she remembered years of alien doctors ignoring her research and calling her methods dangerous. Let them learn the hard way, she told herself. In his private office on a hidden asteroid base, Counselor Zephron was finally ready to do what should have been done months ago. He opened a secure communication channel to Earth. "This is Counselor Zephron of the Galactic Council," he said to the human operator who answered. "I need to speak with someone in authority." The operator was polite but firm. "All official communications must go through proper diplomatic channels. Please contact the Terran Embassy. The embassy was closed when your people left our space. Please, this is an emergency." "I will pass along your message, Counselor. Someone will contact you if they choose to." The communication ended. Zephron stared at the blank screen, feeling helpless. For the first time in his life, he was the one begging for attention instead of giving orders. 2 days later, he received a message. Ambassador Inho Jung would meet with him on the neutral space station Deep Haven. The meeting would be unofficial and private. Zephron arrived at Deep Haven feeling nervous. He had met Inho many times during the old negotiations, but always as the superior talking to the inferior. Now their positions were reversed. Inho looked exactly the same as always, calm, professional, and polite. But there was something different in his eyes. He was no longer trying to please or impress anyone. "Counselor Zephron," Inho said formally. "What can I do for you?" "Our civilization is dying," Zephron said without any diplomatic politeness. "The Vakori have taken 15 worlds. The plague is spreading everywhere. Our economy has collapsed. We need help." "I see." Inho's voice showed no emotion. "And what kind of help do you need?" "Everything. Medical assistants, military advisors, economic experts, engineers. We need humans to come back and fix what has been broken." Inho was quiet for a long moment. Then he asked, "Why should we help you?" Zephron was shocked by the question. "Because people are dying, because the galaxy is in chaos." "People have been dying for 3 months," Inho replied. "The galaxy has been in chaos for 3 months. Where was your concern when humans were asking for basic respect and fair treatment?" "We made mistakes," Zephron admitted. "But surely you cannot want to see entire civilizations destroyed." "No, we do not want that. But we also cannot ignore 3 years of insults and mistreatment." Inho stood up from his chair. "Let me be very clear, Counselor. Humans are not the galaxy's maintenance staff. We are not here to fix your problems whenever you call. We are an intelligent species that deserves respect and partnership." Yes, of course, we understand that now." "Do you?" "Because 3 months ago your council wanted us to give up our planetary defenses and accept junior status in your government." Zephron felt ashamed. The demands that had seemed reasonable 3 months ago now sounded insane. How had they ever thought humans would accept such treatment? "We were wrong," he said quietly. "We were very wrong." Inho sat back down. "What exactly are you offering, Counselor?" "Anything. Full council membership, territory, technology sharing, whatever you want. And in return, help us save our worlds." Inho was quiet again. Finally, he said, "I cannot make any promises. This decision must be made by Earth's government and the human people, but I will carry your message to them." "How long will that take?" "As long as it takes. Earth is not in crisis, Counselor. We can afford to be patient." After Zephron left, Inho sent a detailed report to Earth. President Youngmi Cha read it carefully, then called a meeting of her advisors. "The aliens are ready to beg," reported Foreign Minister Dongwoo Kim. "They are offering everything they refused to give us before." "Because they are desperate," President Cha replied. "The question is, do we want to help them?" "Many of our people say no," admitted Defense Minister Kai-Tae Lim. "They remember the insults and disrespect too clearly." "But innocent beings are dying," pointed out Dr. So-Young Bae. "Children who had nothing to do with the Council's decisions." President Cha nodded. This was the hardest part of leadership, making decisions that affected millions of lives. "What would our conditions be?" she asked. "Complete restructuring of the galactic government," Dongwoo replied. "Equal representation for all species. Formal recognition of human contributions. fair compensation for human workers, and a guarantee that this will never happen again, added Kaite Lim. President Cha considered the options. Part of her wanted to let the aliens suffer longer. They had earned their punishment through years of arrogance and disrespect. But another part of her remembered why humans had joined the galactic community in the first place. They had wanted to help build a better universe for everyone. Prepare a response, she decided. We will help, but only under very specific conditions. The formal reply reached Zephron 2 weeks later. By then, the Vakori had conquered 23 worlds and the plague death toll had reached 10 million. Earth's conditions were harsh but fair. The old Galactic Council would be dissolved. A new government would be formed with equal representation for all species. Human contributions to galactic society would be officially recognized and fairly compensated. Most importantly, humans would have full veto power over any decisions that affected them. Never again would they be forced to accept unfair treatment. These terms are very demanding, Councillor Velthera complained during an emergency meeting of the surviving council members. We are not in a position to negotiate, Zephyron replied. Accept their terms or watch our civilization die. The vote was unanimous. The surviving council members agreed to all of Earth's conditions. But President Cha had one more surprise for them. When the alien delegation arrived at Earth to sign the agreement, they found that humans had been preparing for this moment all along. The Terran Federation had grown stronger during the 3 months of isolation. Human scientists had made new discoveries. Human engineers had built better ships. Human doctors had developed new treatments. We did not spend the last 3 months feeling sorry for ourselves, President Cha told the alien delegation. We used the time to improve and prepare. Ambassador Dae-Ho Kim, who had walked out of the council chambers 3 months ago, was now Earth's chief negotiator. The same aliens who had dismissed him as unimportant were now hanging on his every word. The age of taking humans for granted is over, he announced. From now on, we work together as equals or we do not work together at all. The aliens signed the agreement without argument. They had learned, too late, that humans were not servants to be ordered around. They were partners whose respect had to be earned. As the new galactic government was being organized, rescue ships full of human doctors, engineers, and advisors began leaving Earth. The galaxy would be saved, but it would never be the same. The time of human submission was over. The time of human partnership had begun.